Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks for coming by today. We are going to just do a mid-month, check-in. Mid-month, how is it going so far? Kind of a little update, because it's the middle of the month and I've read a few things and I've watched a ton of things though. Mostly I participated in Halloweenathon, which is of course created by Kelsey from Slime and Slashers, her fun Halloween themed event. And I'm having fun with it and I'm watching a ton of stuff for it and reading a few things for it. But we're just going to jump right in because we have a lot to talk about today. Got my list here. These are my books so far. And so far, I have read, first up, just in order of reading, Manhunt by Gretchen Felker-Martin. I finally read this book and I really enjoyed it. I had the audiobook on hold for a little while and it finally came in. And I did really enjoy the audiobook. First of all, this, I think most people are kind of familiar with it if you're kind of within my circles, but this is a horror novel, kind of dystopian set situation where some sort of, virus situation has, torn through the world. And it basically targets, people that are testosterone carriers. So basically all the men are turned into these sort of like feral kind of monsters, not monsters, feral, and not zombies necessarily, and just these feral beasts, we'll say, that can't control themselves, And so we pick up, sometime after things have been going on, and we follow a sort of set of characters that are, dealing with the situation and how is life existing and how are things, moving, progressing in this type of society where there's basically only women around. But then, it does call into play because our main characters are transgender. And so they are having to do things to keep from not being turned into a ravaged man person. So there's a lot, of course, in here about gender and things like that and how that would play out in this kind of situation. And our main characters, I do not remember their names, but I liked them a lot. And anyway, I can't remember now. And they kind of come across this kind of transgender man as well, and they're just trying to, of course, everyone's just trying to survive and make it through, right? And they come across this sort of group of what are called TERFs in here with the capital TERF, right? And they're this group of just kind of crazy, crazy women that are very anti, any kind of man, really, and and they of course are very fearful for their own safety and their presence in it, but they've kind of come into this little, kind of community and trying to take over. And I don't know, it's got kind of a lot going on in here, but overall I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the writing here. Really enjoyed the characters. Like I said, I am one that I really appreciates a sort of dystopian setting and any kind of story that's exploring like how would humanity respond to this situation. That's my jam. I really like these kinds of stories. And so this was just a different, sort of perspective of a reaction to something that's going on, right? And yeah, I just overall really enjoyed it. And I'm curious to see what else this author's going to come out with, because now I have read their other book as well. I'm not going to remember the name of it right now. But anyway, so I'm just going to look forward to what's coming out next, because it's going to be interesting. If nothing else, it's going to be interesting. So, all right. I read, actually, this one, not necessarily a Halloween spooky type book, though there is a sort of ghostly figure. But this I read I have my little K-pop Discord that I have we've been reading books by some Asian authors this year. And it's been really fun. So for September and October, we've been reading, our pick was Banyan Moon by Thao. And I really enjoyed this story. Another kind of multi-generational familial story following, ladies of a family. And again, with another type of story, which I read several of these back in September, where, what's the word I'm looking for? immigrants into a new country, and this time we're following a Vietnamese family. I really have not read that many stories from a Vietnamese perspective, so that just right off the bat I really appreciate it, just in general. And we've got family secrets, and how that comes into play, later in life. We're following a couple of different women. Our story picks up with the daughter, and she discovers that she is pregnant, but her boyfriend has also cheated on her, and so her world has been flipped upside down a little bit, and so she goes back home to the Banyan house, which is her grandmother's house. And this kind of starts our story of I love also that trope of when someone goes back home kind of reluctantly. She, our main character, and her mom have kind of a dicey, relationship. They're not as close. They're not super close, but she loves her grandmother, but the grandmother has passed away. And they're kind of left with this old house and that kind of story where we're going kind of working back through time with some of the history of like her grandmother's story, again, things that happened in the past and how that affects things of today. I love those types of stories. I really enjoyed this story. Really, the setting here was just so lush, and I think this takes place in, I think it was Florida, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was just really rich characters, and I just really thoroughly enjoyed this story, so I highly recommend it. I then finally read How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I got this book right when it came out. I got it from Nightworms, so I got like the signed thing and everything, and the little like postcard thing that came with it. It just sat on my shelf and didn't get read until now, and I'm really glad I finally read it because I really like this too. I did end up listening to the audiobook for it, which was good. Again, I recommend the audiobook. I'm a Grady Hendrix fan, so for me, I just kind of hope that this will be one that I will enjoy, and I did. I really did like it, and again, it's another kind of the same kind of themes that we're dealing with in Banyan Moon, where we've got these two siblings, and their parents have died, and they are left with this house and cleaning out this house, and that kind of story. So the sister of the family has to come back home, and deal with what's going on, and she and her brother also have much like the daughter and mom of Banyan Moon, have a very rocky relationship. They're not super close, but so she's not really even looking forward to coming home, but whatever, she's got to do what you got to do, especially when both of your parents die at the same time. And again, there's definitely some family secrets here, which I love. I love juicy family secrets. I love that. And as we dig into the past and figure out what's going on, because there are definitely some things going on in here. Because as they are getting into this house, something's happening. You know what I mean? They're trying to sell the house, but maybe some don't want it to be sold. There's things going on in here. Now, what's really creepy about this house, though, is the mother was this pretty, well-renowned, puppet maker person, and she had, this puppet ministry, and, she was, pretty, renowned for that, and so the house is full of, dolls and puppets and stuff, and particularly this one called Pupkin. Okay, freaky deaky from the get-go, and I do not like dolls and stuff like that, so that stuff, freaks me out anyway. So there's a lot of horror bits in here that are really good, that keep you on the edge of your seat with this flipping dolls and stuff. And then again, this kind of juicy family secrets, that we discover as the story goes on. And again, the house itself is really kind of a character in itself, and you could kind of picture the rooms and everything like that. And yeah, I really liked it. I really enjoyed this a lot. What I love about Grady Hendrix is he writes good characters, okay? And he writes them well. And even though, this is maybe sort of a silly situation, I never feel silly or anything reading these. this is me personally talking about Grady Hendrix's book, as I always hear him say, oh, he's like this comedy horror writer. I rarely laugh reading Grady Hendrix's book. To me, they are always right on point with something, with some kind of messaging or something. The way that he writes female characters, to me, is top notch, even though he's a dude. And again, this situation may be silly, but nothing if I were in this situation, I would, shit my pants, like it's terrifying. And I don't know, I love his books, and I don't know what else to say other than I like them. And I think sometimes, just me personally, it does him a disservice when people just kind of, I don't know, poo-poo him as like this comedy guy, when I feel like his works are quite serious, actually. But there is a bit of tongue-in-cheekness with the way that he kind of winks and nods to like old school horror, but he brings in such a realness, again, to his characters and the situations that, to me, it is straight up horrifying. So I don't know, I'm a fan. I love this book, glad I finally got to it, and I've got a couple more that I still need to read, but it's my favorite, to-be top favorite, is still Southern Book Club's, got to say, Slaying Vampires, but this one I did really love. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents for it's worth nothing. It's not even worth 1 cent, but whatever. Here we go. I had an audiobook hold come in. This was one I had on hold for Shorty September. It decided to just, delay itself and show up now. It's fine. It was a nice short read since I had it for Shorty September. And this is The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. Amal El-Mohtar, hope I spelled that right. Sometimes I can't read my own writing. Anyway, this is a fantasy. I mean, it's really a novella, really. But it's a fantasy, almost fairy tale feeling story. I can't even really explain it. We're following these sisters that live in this sort of, I don't know, enchanted land where there's this river that kind of runs through their estate, with their parents live and everything. And it's something about the water that like gives like stories and language, and like it's this really fantastical sort of setting. But there's also this sort of other land where there's beings that exist over there. One of the sisters is like getting together with one of those people, and there's like this evil, like he really feels like the mustache twirling villain guy who is trying to marry the oldest sister, though she's obviously occupied with this other person, and so he can like his property and like their property, whatever, like combine, and they become, multi, rich with all the whatever, again, this magic is that's really hard to describe. Anyway, there was a darkness to it, but also a real, just, I'm telling you, the magic in the world here is so interesting and absolutely unique, something I've never really read before. And the characters were lovely, and this world, even though this was a really short novella, this audiobook was just a few hours long, it came to life. It was very rich in place and character, and I don't know, I really liked this a lot. So give it a go if you want like a short fantasy, which we don't get very many of those. If you need something short, give it a go. I was very impressed with this. Okay, next up, I read a middle grade book because I'm also, of course, taking part in Halloween, which is an event to read spooky middle grade books. I rated my shelves. I've had this one for a little while. I read it so hard and quick that the whole back has fallen off of it, but it's fine. So this is an old book, probably from like the 80s or maybe even early 90s, 1991. And this was a ton of fun, actually. Our main characters are these 2 kids that live with their parents in a mortuary. They're one of those kind of old school where you live in the house where the mortuary is and the funeral home and all that. Yeah. And of course they're kind of outsiders in that way, especially the older daughter, who's more of a, teenager. Maybe she's like 13, 14 or so. So she's at that stage where she's embarrassed by everything, and, so one night her parents go out. They're going to, just going out for the night, and she and her brother are there and his brother has invited a friend over, and this body is there. And, his brother's like, let's go sneak in and see the body. The body comes to life, and terrorizes in the rest of the book. So it's a lot of fun. And the history of this, like who this person, this body is and stuff, was pretty kind of gnarly. And they were like really putting like some pretty serious danger. But very, very kind of 90s type story, I would say. And really enjoyable. Honestly, it was very fast paced. And I mean, it's not super long anyway, but it was very just like, I gotta figure out what's going on with this story. I hope these kids are okay. Like they were, like I said, pretty like pretty serious danger here. Anyway, had a fun time with it, and it's a fun time read. So what more can you ask for from a little spooky middle grade book, So that's the books. So if you want to skedaddle right now, you can, because I will be talking about a lot of stuff coming up that I've been watching. Okay, movies. Watched Trick or Treat, the rock and roll horror movie. Very good. Really love that one. It's a perfect seasonal October watch. If you've not watched it, you gotta watch it. All right, I went to the movie theater to see BTS Love Yourself 2019 tour. They did a little couple weeks where they showed some of their old concerts in the theaters. I went to see the Love Yourself tour from 2019, like I said. That was from London. It was great. I loved it. Deadly Eyes, I think that was the name of that one, Deadly Eyes, and Blue Monkey. So all these are watch parties, part of Halloweenathon is you join the Discord, and the hosts and helpers and things like that will show movies in the Discord, and you watch them together as a watch party, and it's totally fun. So those are movies that I watched for watch parties. Let's see, I've been digging a lot into, let's just do movies first before we even get into all that. I finally watched Weapons. Okay, I'm a Weapons lover. Okay, I haven't now watched it. I think this is kind of contentious. Like, some people really do not like this movie. I mean, whatever. I don't, you do you. Like, not everybody has to like the same stuff. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very interesting. Really kind of terrifying and scary, and I don't know what else to say other than I liked it. So I don't know, man. I am who I am, you know what I'm saying? I watched Over the Garden Wall, which if again, a perfect just autumnal sort of watch, and they're short. It's like 10 episodes, I think, but they're like 15 minutes long, if even that long. And it's so lovely. I haven't watched it in several years, and it's just so lovely, and I love Greg so much. He's my favorite character. I watched John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. Actually, first time watching that one, and it was a fun time. Okay, is it like peak Carpenter? No, but it was fun, and I'd say it's worth a watch, especially if you're trying to maybe catch up, to all of Carpenter's movies or something like that. Give it a go. I mean, Ice Cube is in it. Flippin', Jason Statham is in it. Who's the chick? I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. Anyway, that chick is in it, and they're on Mars, and these people are part of the kind of, I guess, some sort of like a law enforcement type thing, and they're going out to like investigate these like heinous murders, and lo and behold, there's some, it says Ghosts of Mars, like there's some perhaps alien stuff going on, turning people violent. It's really fun. It's fun. I watched Coco. I've watched Coco before. I bawl every time I watch this movie. If you are not sobbing at the end of Coco, you have a black heart. Okay? That's all I can say. I love this movie. I love watching this movie during this time of period, this time of the year. This Miguel, he is so lovely, and just really just about family and love, but also how kind of secrets and like holding on to like negative things can really affect it, the generations. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. Oh, it's so beautiful. Another watch party, we watched Suspiria, the original. Really just fantastic movie. I love Suspiria. It's a movie set in, a ballet house, and then people are getting murdered. It is so artistic and beautifully filmed, and camera angles and colors, and yeah, it's really good. Really, really good. The Cat o' Nine Tails. Okay, this was a really good movie too. And I think we played. I was watch party played over Halloween, the weekend that was Halloween. And we're following like this news reporter guy and this blind guy played by Carl Malden. Hello, and they are investigating this murder and what happens after that. I mean, it gets a little not a murder. Was it a murder? There was a break into this like genetics lab. Oh yeah, there was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's good. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I finally watched Phantasm, and it was fantastic. Bad joke, but it was really good. I really liked it. It was very, very strange. Phantasm is weird, okay? And I'm kind of still thinking about it a little bit. I watched it a couple nights ago. I'm like, what was that movie? I really can't explain it, but we got this guy who there's like this dude and this kid and this tall man. There's a guy named Tall Man. He works at a funeral home. Stuff's going on in the basement. I don't know. I mean, it's just very, very weird and strange. And this kid's trying to figure out what's going on. And his brother, after their parents have died. It's a weird one, you guys. But you gotta check it out. It's just what you gotta watch for yourself. There was a watch party for Rocky Horror Picture Show, a movie I've seen 1.5 billion times. I never get tired of watching it. Loved it yet again. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Okay. Brilliant. Period. Just last night, I watched the movie Show Me the Ghost. This is a Korean kind of comedy horror, I would say. And it was actually a lot of fun. It's really kind of palate cleanser of such something fun to watch that has, some spooky vibes with it as well. And we're following these friends that the guy friend has rented this house that seems a little too good to be true. Like, it's kind of cheap. It comes furnished, which, I mean, it's crazy town, right? And so his friend kind of moves in with him, and maybe it's haunted. Yeah. And there's this history of something that's happened in the house, and it's had that thing where they try to figure out what's, maybe how to get rid of the ghost, the kind of thing. But it's got some really, nice bits of humor in it that I really chuckled out loud quite a few times. And there's some pretty spooky stuff too. I don't know if you know how, a lot of Korean ghosts that have this kind of look to them, and so this ghost definitely had that look to them. And then when we figure out what was going on with the lady that died in the house, it was actually very sad and tragic. So, as like a lot of Korean shows, it hits you with a gut punch as well. And it was good. It's a fun time watch. I watched it on Prime. I think I watched it on Prime. If you just want something a little lighter, I would definitely recommend it. It was fun. Now, here lately, I have been digging into old school stuff because I've been saving stuff to watch during Halloween time. And I'm talking like old school stuff from like 70s, 80s, maybe even 90s, like little TV specials or Halloween specials of cartoons, all kinds of stuff like that. So like the Halloween That Almost Wasn't, which was like this old, I think it was on like ABC, absolutely crazy. And it's kind of wild, actually. That's the what's his name? That guy was in it. Yeah. He played like a vampire. The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Okay, an old animated show about this rock and roll group, and the chick makes a deal with the devil. Some really fun animation in that one. Witches Night Out, a quintessential 70s animated show, very 70s animation, like if you know, about this witch who is just, kind of wanting to get back into her witchy ways, but, she's kind of like bored, and so the neighborhood, they decide to come into her house because they think no one's living there, and they throw a party. Stuff ensues, and people get turned into things. It's fun. It's a fun time. Was there anything else on this? Okay, no. Yeah, I've watched You Can't Do That on Television, the Halloween special. Mork and Mindy, a Morkville horror. All of this stuff I watched on YouTube. Okay. The Mork and Mindy was cute because it was like Mindy was trying to sell like her old family house, but maybe it's haunted. It was cute. And actually kind of a sad at the end. Okay. The old 1976 animated version of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Some more absolutely amazing 70s animation there. An episode of Ray Bradbury Theater. I watched the episode called Skeleton. It has Eugene Levy in it. It was actually pretty great. I watched the little just 6-minute sketch called The Bat and the Beautiful from the Carol Burnett show. I laughed hysterically. Harvey Korman is so funny. The Trouble with Miss Switch. That's kind of like one of those, Saturday evening or Saturday morning specials, that you would see about this witch teacher, and then she gets the kids involved in trying to defeat this other witch who's like not nice. Buttons and Rusty and Which is Which. I wasn't familiar with those characters. I guess they've been in a little specials. I don't know. I guess this is more a movie. The Bowery Boys Meet the Monsters. This is from 1954. The Bowery Boys are this like slapstick group of comedians that did a lot of stuff. So if you like stuff, maybe not quite as intense slapstick as say like Three Stooges, but still just like one-liners and slapsticks and stuff like that. And they go to this house to try to like convince this family to let them use like the abandoned lot that they owned for the kids to play baseball in the neighborhood. And perhaps they are like, up to like nefarious things in there, and they want to get the Bowery Boys' brains to use, or their heads to for their experiments. It was a lot of fun, really funny, just classic stuff, really. I watched an episode of Goosebumps, Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns. It's a pretty fun one, I would say. Definitely thematic. It's about trick-or-treating and everything. It was a good one. There was this CBS News special. I forgot the year. It was probably at least the 70s, if not maybe early 80s. Maybe 80s. Maybe more 80s than 70s. But everything you always wanted to know about monsters. And honestly, it was pretty fun. ABC Weekend Special, Bunnicula the Vampire Rabbit, little half-hour, animated rendition of Bunnicula. An episode of The Real Ghostbusters, but it's a Halloween episode when the Halloween was forever. Has this really great like pumpkin-looking character, like ghost character in it. Very fun. Drankin and Bass, thing called Jack-O-Lantern. Which is really this leprechaun disguised as a jack-o'-lantern. I know, it's very weird, very Rankin and Bass 1970s, you know what I'm saying? The Fat Albert Halloween special. Okay, I loved Fat Albert growing up, and I know maybe you don't call him Fat Albert nowadays, but I mean, it was fun. I loved Fat Albert back in the day, and they had this Halloween special from 1977, and it was a lot of fun, and Fat Albert is still very endearing, and Mushmouth is so fun. Yeah, I like that. A Raggedy Ann and Andy special of a pumpkin who couldn't smile, about the jack-o'-lantern who was carved with a frown, and so he was bummed about not getting like bought for the Halloween season. Today I watched Halloween with the Addams Family, an old Addams Family episode, and it was so fun. I love the Addams Family. I feel like maybe you're like an Addams Family person or a Monsters person. I'm Team Addams Family the whole way, and I love Addams Family. I love Gomez. The Smurfs, All Hallows Eve, a Halloween episode of the Smurfs, in which it is also Gargamel and Jokey's birthday. All right, and then just this afternoon, I watched a few episodes of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they were fun. I our group watches Scooby-Doo, so I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan as well. I'm telling you, I'm leaning into this old stuff because it's so fun. Some of it I remember watching, some of it I don't. But either way, it's still fun. So that's what I've been getting into so far. Let me know what you've been reading and watching and spooking and Halloweening, and let me know what you've been up to. I've got my outside decorations up, my inside's decorated. We are ready for the season, and it's finally has turned cool here in North Carolina. So perfect. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you're doing well. As always, I'm so thankful for your time, truly, and I'll catch you at the end of the month, okay, with what else spooky stuff I get into. All right, bye.